Hello, 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 and welcome to the second episode of Fit Chat, Chit Chat. I'm your hostess, Devondria Sanchez, also known as the Fit Therapist, and owner, founder, and CEO, client of Finding Inner Transformation, where we believe that a fit mindset is more than the physical. It is also the mental and spiritual. We have an amazing group of guests today, and we just want to honor their experience today. So we are thankful that they made the commitment. They sit here in just openness and confidence, being able to share their wealth of knowledge. And so if you are watching live, please feel free to ask questions, comments, give feedback, share your own personal experience so that we can answer any questions for you. As a discretion, we will not tolerate any disrespect, rudeness, negative comments of any kind. If you're watching this in a recording, you can also ask any questions and give feedback. So before we get started on our show, we want to allow our panelists to introduce themselves. So they're just going to share their name, where they're from, any fun fact they want to share with us, and then we will proceed. So I'm going to start with Nelson.
Hi guys, my name is Nelson. I'm from Queens, New York, living in the Bay Area, California right now. Yeah, that's about it.
Linwood.
My name is Linwood. I am originally from Savannah, Georgia, but I now live in Sacramento. And a fun fact about me is my job at one time required me to jump out of aircraft. That was not going down.
All right, Trevor.
My name is Trevor. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I reside in Everett, Washington. And something about me, I enjoy working out like my very fit sister, Devondria.
All right, Michelle.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do a shameless plug because we're on Facebook and I want to get all that in. So my name is Michelle McCoy. I live in Fresno, California. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also the owner and clinical director of Live Well Behavioral Health Counseling Center. And unlike Dee and Trevor, I do not like to work out, but I do anyway. And one fun fact about me is I took up biking. Matter of fact, after this show, I have a ride scheduled after this show. And so, yeah, that's the fun fact is I took up biking a couple months ago, actually, and I absolutely love it. So I've been doing that for the last couple of months to keep myself in shape and get rid of this COVID-19 pounds. So, yeah.
All right. Amy.
That's a fun fact about me. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Amy, take yourself off mute and let us in.
Hi, my name is Amy. I'm originally from Idaho and now living 20 years in sunny San Diego. One of my hobbies is scuba diving. So allows me to travel all over the world to do so. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Larry.
How you doing, Larry Newsom? I'm from Stockton, California. The only fun fact I could come up with that I'm a struggling Denver Bronco fan right now. It's been a rough couple of years. I'm trying to keep my mind staying prayed up for them. Because I live from football season to football season. So
that's awesome. Thank you, Vanessa.
My name is Vanessa Turner, and a fun fact about me is I am the youngest of 9 kids.
Yes, she is. All right, Miss Kelly.
Hi, my name is Kelly McElroy, and I'm from Fresno, California, and I am actually the owner and creator of the Gym Wig, which is the Giving You More wig, a wig made for women such as Devondria, where she, works out or whatnot, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to get right into it. Single, it has such a society puts a lot of pressure on singleness, in my opinion. I think it's still misconstrued in a lot of ways. And I just want to open right up with the question, if you are dating someone exclusively, does that mean you are single? And I think this question has been floating around, and people are confused on how to answer it. And so I want to be able to go ahead and I'm going to pick someone. See, they didn't know I was going to pick someone. See how to fit therapist, do you? I am going to ask Vanessa,
Ma'am.
if you are dating someone exclusively, does that mean that you are single?
In my opinion, I feel like if you are genuinely trying to pursue someone, in order to do that, they would have to have your undivided attention, in the sense of like you giving your all to that relationship, to getting to know them in that dating that we do. If you are busy entertaining, right, other options, that means, in my opinion, you're not giving that person your full attention and that full opportunity to see if you guys are compatible. Because for me, if I'm going to pursue dating you, I'm not dating you in hopes that one day you might want a family or might want to be married. Like, I already know what it is and you know what it is. Like, me personally, I don't date to have fun. So like, I'm dating to eventually find a spouse. Of course, it's not like it's hot, like, oh, I'll be you straight a month after, but in my opinion, you will still have the status of single, but my full attention will go to whomever I'm pursuing or who's pursuing me.
Got it. Thank you. So I'm going to pitch that to one of the guys real quick, and then I want to share, after we did some comments about this article I read about the definition of single. So Nelson, I'm gonna pitch it up to you. If you're dating someone exclusively, are you still considered single?
I would say no. At the same time, these days it's like, it's what's public, I guess, right? Because of social media. Are you posting that you're single, or leaving that up, or you're sharing that right away? Or I guess it depends on every person, on how they're perceiving it. So I would think it would be up to conversation in the relationship to be clear on it, what's public, what's private, and have that conversation. I think otherwise it's kind of left for guessing, and that's where a lot of times it creates problems, because there's not lack of communication about it.
Yeah, communication is key. And before social media, there was no status to put in there. So this is kind of like moving in the way that society is moving at some point. Who wants to chime in on that? Okay, go ahead, Michelle, and then Kelly.
I think the operative word here is exclusive. She said dating exclusively, not just dating. Dating is you and I are trying to get to know one another. You're technically on a informal interview to see if we can move this forward, if we can potentially, build something later on. Dating exclusively means there's been a conversation between two people who were dating, and together they have made a decision that I'm going to date you and you only. And the man and the woman both agree that we're going to date each other exclusively. That means excluding all others. And so I don't know if anyone actually heard the word exclusive. So dating is different than dating exclusively. And so if you're dating someone exclusively, I'm assuming you are both on the same page and you are moving towards something more long-term, something more permanent, like marriage or long-term relationship, whatever the case may be. But I think there needs to be a conversation had between two of the adults that are interested in dating exclusively, not just dating. There is a big difference between just dating someone and dating someone exclusively. Because dating is a free-for-all. You can date whoever you want to date. You have multiple dating partners. Dating does not equate to sex. I need to make that clear. You're getting to know one another. So there might be multiple people that you're dating. But dating exclusively means it's just one man and one woman, excluding all others, moving towards some sort of common goal. Hopefully they talked about that as well. So in my mind, that's dating exclusively.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. So she's talking about resumes and interviews.
Right.
Okay, we need to figure this one out. Kelly, what's
Oh
your
no, Michelle said it perfectly. She said it perfectly. I just feel like I'm single until I'm married. Now I can be exclusive, like Michelle says, but I'm definitely still single, a single woman, until I'm actually married. So
yeah,
same thing.
yeah. And I think Linwood, I want to chime in because I've seen you kind of confirm with Michelle when you said dating doesn't mean we having sex. It means it can. I'm gonna let you wrap that up.
Exactly. I ain't no hoe. We ain't having that. No, but yeah, I think that I believe in boundaries. In law enforcement, thank God I'm not there anymore. I'm retired law enforcement, but I believe in boundaries. This is where we're going to go, and that's something that should be established, just not only from the female side, but from the male side.
Yeah.
Like I said, you ain't getting none of this unless I see something or want something or we both mutually desire something. But I don't want to get connected that way because I like sex. But I don't want that to be the whole reason why I'm seeing you is because I like that. Because I can get that from who I need to be with permanently. But so let's just hold back on. No, I don't want no sugar. Right. If we could just, let's get to know each other. Let's not do all that touching and feeling and rubbing because that gets some other stuff turned on. I ain't trying to do that.
All right now. All right. That was awesome. Trevor, what's your take on it?
I mean, I kind of agree, kind of with what like Vanessa said. If I'm seeing somebody, I'm just getting to know them. I'm still single, but if kind of like also like Michelle said, but if it's exclusive and I'm really like trying to owe myself to you and really trying to get to know you, I guess like I'm still single, but I'm moving towards maybe trying not to be single. But also kind of like Kelly said, like until I'm married, I'm really single. So, but if we're dating exclusively, we're trying to move towards something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a little confused because my thing is if you're single until marriage, I'm just taking things literally here. That means until the day before you get married, you are single, which means if somebody comes in, twinkles your eye, I'm still single, so I can go over here and do what I need to do because I'm not married yet. So I don't know if I'm okay with if you're dating exclusively, if I'm still single, marriage is a legal contract, it's a spiritual one too. But what that does is it leaves it open for you to dibble and dabble in other relationships if you say you're exclusive. So where is the boundary? So if you're dating exclusively and you're still single and you're moving towards something with that person, then why are you exclusive?
Because it's like a lease to buy, right? You have a car, you lease it, and then at the end of the term, you choose if you want to buy it or not. I'm leasing the car. I don't own this car. We have not gone into an official contract saying this car is mine, but I'm leasing it. So we're trying it out. We're trying to work towards marriage and being, making that spiritual as well as legal contract, but we're not there yet. And so I want people to be clear with that. Like, this is a test run. we're testing this out. And then when we go, because then what is marriage, and then what's being just exclusive? Then what's the boundaries with that? What is the standard with that? I'm not going to give you all. Maybe I'm letting you try it out.
So
hold on. Let me get a male in here real quick. Larry, I can tell. I see it. What you pulsating? Go on and chime in, please.
I think sometimes we get caught up on the verbiage. When the original question is, if you're exclusively dating. So some of the things that came out of that, you would have had some understanding that we had a conversation as a couple and decided, hey, this is what we want to try out. This is what we want to work toward. I also hear the aspect of sometimes when you're making a new level of commitment and you're working in that direction for, to marriage or to becoming unified, you still don't want to forget that you are single. You have out. Sometimes people feel because they're invested into a certain relationship or invested into this energy that because that they don't have a way out if it's not going the way they suspected it was going to go. So when I hear Kelly talking about I'm single up to that moment, is like that's my out if I realize that this is not going in the direction that it needs to be going. But it also needs to be a conversation between you and that individual to understand and had an opportunity to fix that if it's fixable. But but when you take it literally, or when you take it, you get caught up on expanding that. So many people, at least from my experience, I found myself putting energy into something, and as we worked towards it, and then I felt obligated to that energy, and then I forgot the option to dip out. I can say it's okay to say this is not working, and I want to go in another direction.
True.
Well, at least that's what I heard when Kelly was talking about I'm single up to the final agreement between us that this is what we're gonna do. I don't think it takes away from what you're trying to build. I don't think it's because me personally, if you got too many hands in the pot, I can't focus on what I need to focus on. I don't want to be distracted. And if I use the word exclusive, that means I'm putting my energy and effort into this relationship to see where it goes until we agree that it's not working that way and do something different.
Yeah.
All I got.
Thank you. Nessa, you wanted to say something real quick?
Yeah, I just feel like clearly just with this small group, we all have a lot of different opinions and perspectives as far as what that means. I feel like, and you brought up a good point, right? Social media has forced us to put ourselves in this category, in this label, when clearly, Michelle's perspective is not the same as mine, it's not the same as Larry's. We all have different opinions, and we as a society, right? Because we're doing this to not only tell, or show ourselves and our own journeys, but also to break the societal pressure, right? Like, if you're single, if you feel like you're single, great. If not, then that's fine too. But I think the biggest point to take away from what everybody was saying, in my opinion, is that it's that conversation, right? It's that hard conversation. Because I feel like, I just turned 33 in January. But what I've learned is that the difficult conversations are what the younger adults, would classify like a difficult conversation, right? Us more mature ones that know what we want, know what we're looking for. We have those conversations where it's like, I'm not trying to pursue multiple people. Like, it's like, okay, maybe you're not what I'm looking for, I'm moving on. You're not what I'm looking for, but not getting caught up in these labels. I feel like customizing each relationship to what you and that other person feels is the most important thing, not necessarily saying, are you married or not? Are you exclusive or not? That's a personal conversation, that you guys can agree upon as a couple, what if that conversation were to ever occur. In my
Yeah, I agree. So I was reading this article in Psychology Today that talked about there's really three terms of singleness. There's legal, right? Whether Michelle was starting to allude to that. This is a contractual. We got married. You ain't married yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't made that. So legally, we cannot endorse, say it on any paperwork if we have not did the legal part in getting connected. So you are single legally. Then there's social singleness. How does the people in society see you? Is it Jack and Jill? Right? Is it every time I see you that boyfriend or that girlfriend or even the fiance? Because even what Kelly said, up into a point. So until the marriage, the legal part happens, you're single. So how does society see you and this other person? And then there's personal singleness. How do you see? Is it not Jack and Jill? No, it's Jack, and then that's Jill. So how are you going around identifying yourself in the relationship or not? So it really lends very different perspectives. But one thing I must say and agree on, it is for us to get to a point of exclusivity, there has to be a mutual, because you may be exclusive. That doesn't mean Jack's being exclusive or Jill's being exclusive. So if you are sitting there saying, yeah, we're going to date each other exclusively, but I'm the only one owning that, then I don't get to put that on someone else. And so, as Vanessa was saying, that very hard conversation definitely needs to happen. If you are deciding for yourself to not date anyone else, you cannot put that on someone else without having that conversation or permission.
An agreed upon conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I agree to be exclusive with you and you only, and the other person verbalizes that back to you.
Sure. Yeah.
So that way you are communicating effectively. Because you might be saying it and thinking that the other person, you just make this assumption, and the other person thinks that, they're shaking their head, but they're thinking, oh yeah, I'm not doing that. So you have to have this verbal agreement. It has to be a two-way communication going on.
Yes. Trevor, did you want to say something? And then
so I wanted to clarify, kind of like you said, when I said single until married, I was thinking more of like you said, the legal part. Like when it comes to social media, if I'm dating you exclusively, like I would put in a relationship. Yeah, so that, I mean, I would just clarify, but
do they have a business social media on the relationship status? None of your business.
Right. None yet. All right.
Your business relationship status.
If there's anyone that has a comment on there, please feel free to put it in the chat, because I think that's the beauty of this. We can have different perspectives. I mean, and opinions. I think when it boils down to this particular situation, it is that agreed upon conversation. And hands down, we can have all these perspectives, but once you're in a relationship, how is it being identified? And I think that's huge. Is there pressure from society that you must have someone? Does anyone feel a pressure that you must be in this relationship? And Amy, I seen that hand pop up, so yes, please.
Yeah, I think maybe I've passed an age that I'm not getting that pressure so much, but I remember, many times my friends would say, why are you single? Why hasn't this worked out with this person or that person? And it's hard to explain to others what you're looking for in a relationship and what you're willing to commit to. I'm an independent woman. I'm successful. I love to travel, and I don't mind doing those things on my own. For a lot of people, they don't see that perspective because they need to have someone to be part of their life. Yeah. Now, absolutely, I certainly want that, but from a pressure perspective, friends, family, of course, all of those people that are married, none of my single friends similar to me have that view. But yes, from people who are in relationships and family, that certainly is something that is asked almost every time I go home.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
not
Go
real
ahead,
quick.
Nina, I'm
So
sorry.
you're saying not only from friends, but from family as well. When I go home, there's a pressure when I'm around people and they can't understand how you're able to live this beautiful life without someone you're still moving forward. But there's the
Right.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. Michelle, you were going to say something.
I don't know if there's necessarily pressure, but I had to have a serious heart-to-heart with one of my sisters a couple months ago, and she tried to set me up with somebody. And I was married for a long time. I've been divorced 3 years, but separated 5 years. And I had to tell her, just because I'm alone doesn't mean I'm lonely. So alone doesn't equate to loneliness. I have a full life. Now, I would love partnership, equally yoked partnership. But a lot of people assume that because I'm alone that I'm lonely, like I'm over here sitting on the couch crying because I don't have a partner. And I had to explain to her, and I had a couple other girlfriends who tried to set me up with some not so desirables men. And I said, just because I'm over here alone doesn't mean I'm lonely. Those two are not synonymous. Do I have lonely moments? Absolutely. But you could be married and have lonely moments, And so I don't know if there's so much pressure on my end, but I know that people, have a tendency to believe that because I'm alone, I want to be, I want to go on a blind date or I want to be set up with somebody. And I had to tell my friends, I'm not impressed with your pick. So don't be trying to choose for me. No, thank you. So people need to assume that alone and singleness does not equate to loneliness.
Love that.
A lot of people believe that, and I don't buy into that.
Yeah, Nelson, I'm gonna shoot it up to you, but I think you definitely make a very good point that it does not mean that loneliness and singleness is not the same thing. Nelson.
Repeat the question.
So is there pressure from society, to have someone? Is there pressure on society to have someone, or in your own circle, or however you want to identify?
I think with family, there's always that pressure sometimes to extend the family genes. At least for me, since my parents both have passed, like I don't feel that pressure anymore. And it's become more of a self-fulfilling prophecy now where I'm just working on myself and healing myself, and I'll attract that which I will end up healing. I believe all relationships are there for healing, whether they're friendships or personal relationships. And so I always look at it as an opportunity just to grow. No matter what it is, it's just an opportunity to heal and grow. None of us are perfect. And in learning that we can grow together, that's where you learn, I felt, where you're going to find the best partner. Because if you're not growing separately and together, then you're kind of growing apart. Or one person's not growing and changing, and then the other person's just, really, growing in a different direction. End up going different. But pressure in general, no. If anything, sometimes I get more pressure from the single people trying to make me be single. So, if you get it from both sides, I guess it depends on the circle that you surround yourself with. And so that's my perspective.
Thank you. Nelson, you just touched on a couple things. Is one, to extend the family, name, right? And this pressure to, if you're single, and remember now there's categories, right? There's single with no kids, there's single with kids, there's the single mom, there's the single dad, there's the single rich, the single poor. There's all these different categories and subcategories, but you make a good point that some of that pressure is like, are we going to lose the family name? How are we going to keep extending? I would imagine for males and females, right, to continue to have this lineage now keep going. And if you're single, how is that going to happen? Trina posts, yes, there's pressure. I love being married, but I also love being single before I met my husband. So I'm going to shoot this question over to Linwood. Is there a pressure from society? And then Amy was kind of talking about that, just like I'm at an age where. So does age and singleness also impact the pressure society has?
I'll say for me personally, and I do know the power of commas and periods, so I will utilize them. I will not give you a paragraph that runs on. So I had to say that. So anyway, At my age, I was married for a very, very long time. I considered it being married for 22 years, knew her for 23 years, and then she walked out and leave. That was very hurtful. It took me 4 years to come out of that funk. I never knew depression in my life until after that first divorce. I was really depressed for about 9 months. I didn't want to go out. I started seeing a therapist because family members started dying at the same time. So I was getting this compounding stuff. Now I like me. I like going to the movies. I like going out and do stuff by myself. I love it. I'm good with that. I don't need nobody else. But my mother sees me in this big 5-bedroom house, and who are you going? You ain't got nobody. You ain't looking for nobody. Why you won't get with somebody? That was a cute little girl at church. Why you won't get? And so I got mom riding me with that, and then I have some friends that I know that, hey man, hey, I know this girl at my job. Oh, and I'm like, uh huh. So I believe it's there, but I'm not getting hit like the younger ones are for different reasons. Just because I am alone doesn't mean that I am lonely. And my daughter, because of COVID, moved back in. So now, Daddy, let me set you up on Facebook dating. And, they're getting frustrated with me, not because I'm happy and they're not happy that I'm unhappy being single.
Yeah.
So, he just seemed like he just ain't going, is he? And I know I hear him on the phone. Is Daddy dating somebody? Well, what he doing? Don't worry about what Daddy doing.
Right. So
I do get it, but it's more so I'd be dating for them and not for me. And trust me, I'm not blind and I'm not old and everything still work. I know fine when I see it. so let me throw that out
I'll
there.
just go back on that one. Kalia says, I agree with Nelson. It felt more pressure to be single and independent. And Nelson hit on something else about healing, thyself. Knowing thyself before you committing to someone else is really, really important. And I also heard that from Linwood saying the hurt and overcoming the hurt. Now I like me. And sometimes we can get lost in relationships if we're not careful, which you bring up a good point. That's another subcategory. Singleness after divorce, right? Another category is it better to be like widowed or widower, I lost, I'm single now because of this, not a problem. So Larry, do you want to chime in on that? Is the pressure there for you to be with someone?
It's twofold for me because it's like I feel like there's pressure I'm putting on myself. Sometimes when you're doing a self-evaluation of how you fit in the community, I also agree with the aspect. The other side of that is you have to heal. You do have to like yourself. You have to be comfortable with doing things and exploring things on your own. But if I'm to be, when I'm out sometimes and I see couples together, you only get a snapshot of what may be going on with them. But it's like, wow, they got a partner. They got somebody to hang out with. Their appearance, it seems to be a good thing. So I naturally feel like the pressure that I put on myself, that I have to corral and keep that in the proper, so I don't settle for just having somebody in my life for the aspect of saying I have somebody, and that can be problematic in itself. So that's kind of what my take on it.
I so agree with that statement. I so agree with that.
Yeah. Trevor, I've seen you nodding in agreement as well. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I totally agree with that statement too. I was going to say, I don't feel pressure from society, but I feel pressure on myself. Kind of like, Larry was saying, I'm still relatively young. I'm about to be 32. But I have one child and, I want another child. And I'm used to being in a relationship. I've never really allowed myself to be single for a significant amount of time. And I look at my friends and I look at a lot of people close to me and they all have somebody. So, that puts pressure on myself. Like, man, like like why am I single? Like all my friends and they're having kids and they're getting married and they're in relationships. So that's really I don't feel pressure from society, but it's more on myself, and really I need to allow myself to be maybe be single for a little bit if if that's what I need.
Yeah. You make a good point, Trevor, and that's a vulnerable place. Is to just sit with yourself. I'm hearing themes, from Linwood and Amy, like I'm traveling, I'm doing me, I'm going places, I'm doing my own thing now, and finding that enjoyable, without having to try to fill a void. And society does it starting very young, as we all know. We watch these Disney movies and we watch, these shows, and these are fantasies. And one thing that I like that Larry said, and I'm gonna get to you, Linwood, is that he said we get a snapshot. We don't know. You see a couple boot up and they may be sharing some giggles, but we don't know if they scrapping as soon as they go around the corner. Let's just keep it real, or if they even like each other, or what could be actually happening. So sometimes it's easy for us to be conditioned and really early in life, and then have those expectations, especially for women, as we hear, the clock's ticking, we need to have kids, and you got to have this and that. And so I do agree with that, and I thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people feel the pressure to be with someone, and they put that on themselves, and they almost equate that with their identity, like something's wrong with me if I don't have someone. So thank you for sharing that, Linwood.
That is exactly what I was going to say. I got married at the age of 19. So I got married young. So we started having kids. We all grew up together. And so, but that was, I identified being a man with being married and having a family. And that's what I did. And I was that faithful little puppy. I didn't get off the porch. I didn't go out and party. I didn't have that riotous life. So now I've slid back. Actually, I'm like a kid all over again, because I don't know how to date. Do I ask for some sugar? And do they call it sugar nowadays? I'm serious. I don't know what to do.
They call it
Making out, I want some sugar. So I'm lost in the sauce, because here in 2021, I'm getting hit on by little young girls, and I don't know how to deal with that.
Okay, so
I'm not no sugar daddy.
Linwood, I'm gonna stop you right there, because you get ready to take me into my next question, and I don't know if they call it sugar no more, baby. I don't know if they do, but but let's transition to the next question, and it is the difficulty. The number one thing you think is a problem dating right now, which Linwood was starting to go down a road of, like, if I was married 30 years ago, what was good then may not be good now. What do you think is the number one issue with dating right now, this generation, this time and era? We are in 2021. We've seen things that we never thought we would see before, but people are still people. So what do you think is the number one issue? I'm going to start that with Kelly.
Oh wow! Oh, I could write a book.
Right?
I think the problem is that everyone is jaded about relationships, love. Kind of have a mentality of they kind of giving up on it, and I think that stems from the unwillingness to heal. There has been a movement as of late where people are really like self-examining and trying to heal themselves to be the best person that they can be for themselves in order to get in a relationship. But, it's like the people that are there are the trailblazers, because there's a lot of people that are just unhealed and aren't willing to do the work that it takes to make a solid relationship. And so that's what I'm kind of combating against, and I struggle with while I'm out there on the dating scene. It's like, okay, where are you at in your life? What is it that you want to do with yourself? How do you love yourself? First of all, do you love yourself? Because if you can't show up for yourself and love yourself, you don't have room to show up and love me correctly and in a healthy way. And so, and that takes work to sit with yourself and to go through all your pain, your trauma, and to process all that. That takes work. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. So what do? They go and they date and they spill all of their mess over other people. And then everyone's like, well, love doesn't work. Love doesn't love you and all that stuff. But it's just really from the unwillingness to heal. And so that's where I'm at with it. Can I find my counterpart in someone that is willing to do the work on themselves, so when we get together, we could prosper and grow together?
They should already have done I feel like at our age, I'm 40, I'll be 45 this year. I don't want to build a bear. I need you to do that work before you get to me. Absolutely. You know, you build in the 20s. At 45, you're supposed to be maintaining. So I hear what you're saying. I mean, I'm sorry to cut in, but I don't want to. You better be fixed and put together.
Well, you know, here's the thing.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to you, Michelle. Amy, go ahead and chime in. I seen you egging at that.
Well, yeah, I do agree. You know, at a certain age, you know, you should have some things figured out in life. But as with everyone, we all go through different phases, right? Whether it's, you know, coming out of relationship. I personally came out of a relationship a couple of years ago, and it kind of set me back a bit. And I had to work through, you know, to Kelly's point, like work through, you know, the hurt and get back to where I'm good with myself. But another challenge that I find, especially in the dating app world, is that there are a lot of, I'm not even going to say not healed and not where they need to be, but crazies out. Okay. Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to just one. I'm going to share one thing. I went on a, you know, talk to the person. I do the precautions. I, you know, make sure I have a conversation with them first before I actually agree to meet in person. And after one date and realizing that there was something off, and tried to end it right there. 90 text messages. 90.
Yeah.
My word. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Amy. Let me just chime in on the comments real quick, then I'm gonna grab you, Michelle. Trina says, date yourself. It's liberating, but hard at first. Trust me, it took a while. When you find yourself, you will love yourself to know what you are worth and deserve. Cheryl says, dealing with damaged people, i.e. those divorced. Tyrone says, if you don't fix what cut you, you will continue to bleed on everyone around you, especially your new partner. And Trina agrees. Michelle, chime in on that.
Well, I think it's multifaceted. Some of the issues with dating. I've never dated online because I hear the horror stories that some of my girlfriends have endured, and I'm like, you know what, I'll pass on that. But I think one of the many issues is that men may have unrealistic expectations of women, and women have unrealistic expectations of men. We live in a world where everything is pretty and glamorous and glittery and gold, and nobody wants to focus on the logistics of relationship. Everybody wants to focus on the romance and the love of relationship, but they fail to realize there's a lot of work that goes behind the relationship. And I'll give you just a little analogy that I use. I go walking on Venice Extension, and there's this beautiful home, and all year round there are flowers blooming, the grass is green. I'm like, this is the house Jesus want me to have, right? Did I walk by one day and there were 20 people working on the lawn, and I counted 20 people. And I'm like, if it takes this much work to keep this grass green, I don't want this house. And what you gotta realize is that it takes 20 people or 20, you know, different activities to make marriage work. I mean, it's a lot of work. And so people have this unfair, unrealistic expectation. They think, you know, they're always looking for the next best thing. They want this immediate gratification. And it's just not, you know, and I see it a lot in my practice, it's not, you know, realistic. They want, you know, women want a rich man, but don't expect him to be busy. You know, husbands want, you know, a house clean and, you know, kids in order and this and that, you know, if their wife is at home working, you know, but not understanding the difficulties of being a stay-at-home mom and raising kids at home. You know, there's just a lot of unfair, unrealistic expectations of one another. And we find ourselves living in the clouds, and we don't have our feet on the ground when it comes to realistic and fair expectations of partnership. So that's one of the things that I see.
Yeah, I want to get some male perspective here and give Vanessa's comment. I think too, some of it initially isn't people's fault. Nobody's teaching this.
That's true.
Nobody's teaching this unless you are so connected and healed your own stuff early in life before you have kids.
Right.
Because I can tell you the only reason why I'm able to talk to my kids the way I do is because I had to do some of my own work. And the occupation that I'm in has helped me to identify some of my own scorns and problems and pains and trauma. So now that I know that and I'm aware of it, I can talk to my kids about it. But most parents are not talking it. They're parenting out of trauma. They're parenting out of pain. They're parenting out of disillusionment and high expectations. So I can't even say almost that no one's teaching this. And so then the next generation, I do have to highlight what Kelly said a little bit is like, I think people want to be their best selves, right? Now we're having more normal conversations about what mental health is, about emotional regulation, pain, trauma, hurt, damage, and all that stuff. Because before, 20, 30, 40 years ago, this wasn't talked about. Matter of fact, you better not talk about it, especially in my household, right? Because I jokingly say you didn't have any nerves. My mom said, you ain't got no nerves. You're 9, right? I don't have nerves. So we weren't able to have these kind of conversations. So I do want to continue the conversation with Vanessa, and then we'll pass it over to Trevor.
Okay. So I did want to go back to when I'm sorry, he made the question before at the end. He made a comment that said he was like a good puppy on staying on the porch. So I feel like that is an example that we have, right, where we as a society treat faithfulness or taking care of a relationship and we paint it as a negative light or give it this label that make people just paints it in a negative perspective. And so I think that it's up to us, the older single people, to adjust that, right? Like us as singles in general, we are fighting older dating, right? Like I was married for 6 years. I've been single for 5 years. And the hardest thing for me is, I mean, my divorce broke me down physically and spiritually. And the biggest thing that I had to become okay with is looking at myself and breaking down the things that I was told and that I believed, right? Like, are we humble enough to say that, dang, we've been getting it wrong? Maybe that's why I'm single, right? Because I'm doing this and I feel like and I can only speak for, my experiences. I feel like when I try to hang around other singles, right, their mentality is not in alignment to be in any relationship. I should be treated like a queen and I'm this and I'm that. And it's like, girl, like, you don't even like, like you like, you should probably be single for a little bit, and having that humility and I do think social media does play a part, but I also think at the end of the day, it's people behind social media. What are we doing in order to counter that? We are so unhappy with, at least me. I'm not unhappy because I'm thankfully to that part where I'm very comfortable with doing my own thing. And just, letting whatever happens happen. But, there was a little bit there where I felt pressure from friends where it's like, they're like, you're never going to meet anyone if you don't go anywhere. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to, if they're not going to church or the house or the gym or I'm not going to meet them. Like, I'm not going to step out of my box in order to meet someone. And so, but also another thing is I feel like, what you said is exactly what I was going to say, right? Like, we have to have the willingness to want to change. We have to know how. We can't just assume that someone knows how. And, something that Michelle said, I want someone who's equally yoked. So something that I'm a Christian woman, and something that God showed me, because right, I was like equally yoked, like I'm out here like doing this. I own my own house. I have my dream car. Like I have a child. You know, guys say that they're intimidated by me, so they won't approach me, but they want a successful woman. Like, what is going on? And I'm like, Lord, like, I'm not dating this person because they're not equally yoked. And He gave me like the biggest revelation I've ever had when it came to dating, where it was like, to thinking about what equally yoked actually looks like, right? Two ox hanging on by a yoke, right? At the end of the day, it's not a comparison of strength. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, can this person carry the load the whole way like I can? It's more of like when I'm struggling, is that person willing to push through and continue to walk alongside me? And when they're struggling, am I willing to carry on their load? Am I willing to slow down and go at their pace? Are they willing to go on at my pace? And I feel like now that I'm older, at times I have to check myself, where it's like, it's not about expecting too much, but being realistic, right? Like, I'm looking for this perfect person. I've been married before. I'm not trying to do it again. You know what I mean? Like, all of these thoughts, where it's like having that grace and that room for not only you to grow, but your partner to grow, whatever that may look like. So I just feel like what makes us struggle, or makes it a struggle to date nowadays, is right, the mental health, like we said, the mental health aspect, whether we didn't grow up in a household, because in my household, everything, you don't talk about it. It happens, you sweep it under the rug, and the next day everybody wakes up like nothing happened, super awkward. Or it's like, I had to learn, well, after my divorce, what mental health was. That's why I'm getting into that field myself, because I didn't know any better, and I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be faulted for not knowing, but also I shouldn't be looked down upon for not knowing also. My willingness to want to learn and want to grow should be something that was looked at for me. The Lord allowed me to stay single, which, like Michelle said, some days you have good days, some days you have bad days. But at the end of the day, I'm extremely grateful that I can look at myself and feel strong.
Yeah.
And not feel like I need someone. And like I tell people, when you're in a relationship, you don't need, like, they choose you just like you choose them. Y'all don't need each other. It's a choice. And
Right. Yeah. Vanessa, I'm gonna stop you right there, because you make a lot of good, valid points from the aspect of togetherness, connected. I know there's some comments, and then I want to shoot it to Trevor. Cheryl says, lack of trust because you're hurt in the previous relationship is another barrier to dating today, which, yes. Michelle, definitely a disconnect. No one is teaching us. Some of us don't know what equally yoked means. Do you want to just give that simple definition, either Vanessa or Linwood?
Say what I said again.
Just equally yoked. Just how you define equally yoked.
Well, equally yoked is defined in the religious or the spiritual, is that someone essentially at your same level, right? Someone that is, I feel like that's that's the easiest way to explain it. Someone on your level, someone just as strong as you, financially secure as you, all the above. So someone that is essentially on your level.
Yeah, same kind of belief systems and all that good stuff. All right. Trevor, what is the number one problem with dating right now? That's the question. What is the number one issue with dating in this current generation, in your opinion?
So me personally, I kind of agree with some things that Kelly said. With, like I said before, I have kind of like never really allowed myself to be single and jump from relationship to relationship. But I feel like I've never really allowed myself to heal from past relationships. past trauma, and and I didn't, and we didn't have a dad or whatever to like see what a relationship was supposed to look like. So for me, it's really allowing, like, not allowing myself to heal and really grow and see where I can be better in a relationship. Yeah, really, it's really just trying to allow myself to grow and learn and heal.
All right, Nelson, I'm gonna pass it up to you. What is the issue with dating in this generation? What's the problem?
I think it's most people just aren't willing to do the work on themselves. Everybody wants to look outside themselves and point the finger and say what other people are doing wrong and what's wrong with society and yada yada. But ultimately, is we're the ones with the hurt. We're the ones with the preconceived notions of our past, of what relationships are supposed to look like. And if it's been traumatic, that's all we normally see and feel because we've been programmed with it. So a lot of us just have this expectation and yet feel hurt, but we're not willing to do the work on the hurt of ourselves. And so then we bring the hurt to the relationship. So I think the biggest thing is just not only committing to a relationship, but commit to heal. That's probably the ultimate thing, because you'll sit there and hurt for every external circumstance, but ultimately you're the one hurting. You're the one feeling it. So you can say you're not hurting all you want, but if your body is showing you're hurt and you're not lively and you're not really living life, then you're the only one hurting because it's your experience. And so I think people just aren't willing to do the work. And I personally have had to do the work, and it doesn't matter what age you're at. I think that's BS, just because everyone approaches life from a different direction. We've all healed. We got layers to healing. A lot of us have layers and layers and layers of healing to do. And I personally speak from that. And it takes work. It takes hurtful work that we want to heal. But until we choose to fully heal, we're always going to bring that hurt to the relationship. And ultimately, is relationships are there to give. So if you're not wholly healed, you're taking, playing the victim, as opposed to, I'm here to bring heat. I'm bringing here to happiness. I'm bringing here to bring love. And if you're not bringing your half, then you're not doing your part. Plain and simple. So if you're bringing, how are you showing up to the relationship? Are you showing to take and wishing it all comes to you? Are you showing up to bring it, bring what you are and who you are, that you've healed, and you're attracting that relationship as trying to chase this carrot? I want that relationship, and you're chasing this carrot for years. Through even in a relationship, you'll be chasing that carrot. So until you really heal your own triggers, your emotional triggers in and outside of a relationship, is you're always going to be triggered, and you're just going to always cause chaos in the relationship, as opposed to bring healing to the relationship, bring love, bring happiness, just like when you were first in love, as opposed to now you're letting your traumatic past, and you're bringing all that hurt and that anger and that resentment, and then you're making stuff up in your head, and then all of a sudden you're in your head and the relationship's doing this, so you're not doing your part and bringing what you're supposed to bring. So that's my perspective.
You gotta say it, Club Nelson. They're like, yes,
Well said.
yes, my queen. Larry, I'm gonna let you close us out, and what you think the problem is with dating in this here and now.
I agree with everything that was said on the panel. Well, I'm gonna put a little spin on it, though. From a personal perspective, it comes down to logistics. What you feel are responsible for me is like, what do I have going on in my life right now that I'm responsible for, and how that would marry up if I bring a partner or I have a discussion about that. And we have lives, and with those lives comes a certain set of responsibilities. And sometimes that doesn't always make for a perfect connection, because the lives that we have already established gets in the way of being able to make that commitment or give that type of energy, especially if you have come accustomed to doing things yourself. If you have accustomed to interacting, and I heard the statement, I'm an independent person, or I'm an independent woman, I'm an independent man. Sometimes that doesn't allow for somebody to be able to come in because you're so used to doing it on your own.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'm going all over the world. I may not need nobody to go with me all over the world, but because the way your schedule is and where you at in life doesn't accommodate for anybody else to come in to share that with you. And then what are you willing to be vulnerable and compromise on for the sake of learning what this dating situation could grow into? Right. So a lot of people look at that, at least from my experience, they'll look at it that, oh, you're not healed yet. You're holding on to past trauma. That's not the case. What the case is that I got this going on my plate and I'm taking care of that. Now I got to find some room and I got to check in with you, what you got going on your plate. And can we collectively get some time and space together to grow? Right. And it doesn't happen just because I like you or like how you look or what you bring to the table. And it's a lot of give and flow. And how much are you willing to give and flow for the sake of exclusively dating somebody to learn if this is something that can grow into the next level? And so I sum it up with logistics.
Yeah, a lot of good points. Let me just read. Tyrone says, expecting perfection of others when you are imperfect is unfair to them as well as yourself. Finding Mr. or Mrs. Right is different from finding the right person for you. Perfection can come from two imperfect people. Beautiful. Come on, you speaking. And you're not responsible for the other person's happiness. And Khalid says, great point, Larry. Blended families, long-term single living. So I just heard, I think every one of the points is valid. From unhealed trauma, two people coming in together with, past issues in your head, to I'm independent, I'm used to moving on my own, to we need to work this out because I got this, I got that, and how do we come together? And, equally yoked versus I want to move forward. People are trying to heal themselves. So there's a lot of different perspectives about what the problem is right now. And I honestly believe that, yes, two different backgrounds, two different stories can come together, but it has to leave space for grace. Because I recognize just because I'm working on my hurt, trauma, past pain, that person may not be where I'm at. And they may need more time, they may need more space, but as long as I'm willing to give grace. But it does go back to what are you willing to tolerate? And I think when you get to a certain level of independence and quote unquote success, there's a lot of stuff you're not just willing to tolerate. There's a standard. The standard looks very different for me when I was 20 versus 40. Right? He just got to have a car, girl. He can come up with a hoopty and you good. He got wheels. It don't matter. Now you may want a certain level of vehicle to show up.
Yeah.
And are you willing to take that person, allow that person to grow if they are 45, but they don't have the job of their life, the career of their life? Are we leaving grace and space for them to do that? Or this is my standard, this is my idealized husband or wife, and they're not meeting that checkoff, so it's time to move on. Not recognizing that a person who just was writing around in their journal is now a multi-billion-dollar rapper or whatever that looks like. So again, there's certain levels and expectations that I think are there, which kind of brings me to, if a person is not meeting that expectation right now, is there space for them? Is it room for them? Or is there levels? Because I kind of heard Michelle say, I'm not trying to build a bear. So that tells me they're already come with some level of promotion, success. And I'm also hearing Larry saying, but if you're too independent in that, where's there room for me? Where's there room for me to come in on that if I already have an idealized thought of what a person is supposed to be?
I'd like to comment on that. I use that kind of comically. I use it all the time. I'll say it, Yeah. But I mean it in all sincerity, because as we get older, I don't know about it. I can't speak for anyone else, but I know for me, as I get older, I don't know if I have the emotional wherewithal to wait for somebody to come alongside me and have emotional stability. I have grace for other areas. Like I understand life challenges, jobs, income, things happen, relationships end. people come with a myriad of different experiences into a relationship, but there's some things that I'm not willing to negotiate on when it comes to that. You're at this age, you're supposed to be maintaining, and my hope is that someone who is looking for a relationship at my age has dealt with their demons and dealt with their traumas and dealt with their stuff, so that way we have space and room to deal with the other nuances of life. I just don't know, for me, if I'm willing to deal with someone's unresolved trauma at this age, if I have the emotional wherewithal to give them the space that they need, because I always think about, as a therapist, what does that look like in terms of healing? Now, if you're dealing with the grief and loss of a relationship, there may be some grace for that. But if you have like long-term substance abuse, or you have, unresolved, mental health issues that you haven't, taking the time to explore and really work on. I don't know if I'm willing to do that. That's my thing is, if I'm bringing these things to the table, it's only fair that, and I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about, things like emotional stability, trust, those kinds of things. I would want those things in return, because those are the things that kind of help maintain relationships emotionally. So I don't know, for me, if I'm willing or if I have the energy to help a person deal with those demons. I just don't know. I'd have to think about that a lot more.
Can I respond to that? So the thing is then the more you go into yourself and the more you connect to yourself, the more you have this discernment and you create these healthy boundaries for yourself. Mm-hmm. So the more you know yourself, when you go out into the world, you'll be able to better equip yourself with, this person doesn't serve me. This person's not going to serve my highest self or my greatest self. So that's why I always say, like Nelson was saying, it's more about a relationship with yourself, because in turn that's going to manifest itself in whoever you choose to connect with. Mm-hmm. The more strong and the more strength that you have in yourself and the more connected you are to yourself, the better you are able to make better decisions for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's when you're disconnected from yourself, you're going to come across those people who are emotionally unavailable, who has attachment issues, who, are on substance abuse or whatnot. But when you are really steadfast in yourself and you are really working on yourself, you will find that you will make better decisions for yourself. You will see those people. Like attracts like, right?
Right.
So you'll be able to see that light that you're permeating in yourself. You'll be able to see that in other people.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Let me shoot this up to Linwood. You're on mute. So I know Kelly and Michelle kind of was saying, Michelle was saying that she doesn't know she has right here in her life, speaking personally, that she doesn't know she has the emotional energy to entertain someone who is not at that emotional stable place that she needs them to be. And Kelly feels as though, if I'm working on me, I'm going to attract what I'm supposed to have. How about yourself? Any thoughts on any of those comments?
Yeah, I wrote something in the comments too. I am not going to complain about things that I allow.
That's true.
So if I welcome somebody in that is not there emotionally, then shut up. You went into that, so you have no room now to say you need to get it together. I can't. No. You welcome that in. So if through the course of me doing my little assessment, I see that she don't like her mama, she don't talk with her dad, she don't know her siblings. You just hit the short list real quick, because you're out of there. Because I just think I'm not going to say I don't know. Oh, I know. I don't have time.
Yeah.
I'm done raising kids. I'm done raising me. I'm going to enjoy life.
Yeah.
I don't need you coming in trying
to be nice.
Yeah, you coming in trying to fix me. You need to. I'm out, because I don't need this. I want to be happy. I want to enjoy dating. I don't need you coming in here with your switch trying to project on me when really you're bleeding all over me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Larry, I seen you kind of, unless I'm misreading the head nod, the body language.
I know. I agree. A lot of times, when you know yourself, you know what you want. But again, you were talking about grace. You have to be able to have room to allow somebody even to present themselves to you.
Right.
Sometimes, and it's great to know that you have a checklist that you can screen what you're willing to deal with and what you're not willing to deal with. Many people don't know what they want. They think they know what they want, but when you ask them some detailed questions about what they look like, they can't explain it.
Right.
So there's a problem. And then they're unrealistic in just some of the basic foundation. A lot of this is about the basics. We're talking about somebody being mentally mature. I would hope at 30, 40, 50 years old, you're mentally mature. But then what about the building blocks that comes with you trying to come together or trying to get to know somebody? That's where the devil gets into the details. It's not just about I like you. It's about how we're gonna work together. How are we gonna make this move forward? And it goes beyond liking somebody. It goes beyond how attractive you are. I mean, 365 days out the year is what it is, not 52 weekends that we get together and we seem to cohabitate for those 52 weekends out of the year. So when you're trying to translate 52 weeks into a 365 relationship, you need to pay attention to the detail because they come up, and that's where that equally yoked thing comes in, that ebb and flow. Like I want somebody to be able to stand by me, pick up the slack, and then vice versa. I know you can do it, but okay, I'll do that for you, and vice versa, without reaching the need and kind of getting in where you fit in and getting a flow together of the relationship. And that's different from putting yourself together for 52 weeks.
Yeah.
52
I like
weekends.
that. Nelson, yes, go ahead.
I think, and kind of what I said earlier, is you attract what you are. So if the universe is sending you someone to teach you something, you're just attracting what you are. You're supposed to learn from it. You're supposed to heal from it. And again, I think most of us pass on that blame instead of doing the work, because you will attract what you are. So when you're healed and you're whole, you're overflowing with that love. You're overflowing with that abundance. You're not lacking anything. You're not missing anything. You're there to give. So I feel once again is we just always got to do that work. Like I think it was Larry saying, somebody was saying about the projecting. Is we're reflections of ourselves. So whatever we're attracting is we got to look at ourselves, because we can't change anything external. The only thing we can change is us and how we react to the circumstance, or how we deal with it, or how we set standards, or where we draw the line, where we set boundaries. That's our learning experience, because otherwise we'll sit here blaming everybody else and external and that, and then change partners. Ultimately, you got to do the work. And just from experience and having done it, that's the only time things change, is when you do the work inside, then your external changes. But when people try and change the external, you just cause more chaos, because you can't control you can only control yourself, right? So, yeah.
I totally agree with being able to heal yourself, of course, know thyself. And I totally agree that there is responsibility in every partnership. And I totally agree that most people often project onto other people. And I totally agree that sometimes that folks need a way out, and blame is an avenue. And I also believe that we're not all healing at the same time. And so when we do get in these relationships, that we know that there is the passion phase, and that's where we overlook those red flags. Oh, girl, he's so chill. And then a year later, it's like he lazy. And it was something you didn't see. So one of the things that I love that I heard Larry say and Liv would say is fundamentals, right? What is going on with you? What is something that you need to work on? I love Lynn was an assessment. Some of us are going off of jumping in the relationship without taking inventory of where we are. And then you can make the executive decision. So let's say you are peaceful and you attract this peacefulness. but then you get triggered by something because we're imperfect. So we know that there's those things are going to come out, but can I set a boundary? Can we have a communication? And the one thing is, when not everyone is operating the same, we're not going to be able to cover everything. Let's just put it like that. And there are going to be times in those partnerships that you are going to have to, take inventory. Is this something that I want to continue if that doesn't change? Because like you said, we can only do the inner work. So if nothing changes, can you continue to be in this relationship, as Larry was alluding, 365 days if nothing changed in this person? So that the person that you decide to connect with, if they don't change one thing, is that something you can do? That's a self-exploration thing. That's not a them thing, because you can't change them. So I just want to say that I'm recognizing what time it is. If you watch episode 1, I had the married couple say, give their quick, rapid feedback. The question was, how does it go down in your house? So I don't have that, but I am going to say, how does it go down? Okay, so just a quick response in this. Everybody will go around and say, how does it go down? All right. Who pays on the first date? I'm going to start how I see it. Kelly.
The man, what? The guy
All right.
pays.
Because
you asked me out.
All right. Larry, who pays on the first date? How does it go down?
Me personally, it would be me. Would be, I would feel awkward if on the first date, my first opportunity to engage, that I was like, hey, we're going Dutch.
All right. Amy, how does it go down? Who pays on the first date?
The man.
The man.
Trevor.
You're muted, Trevor.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Absolutely the man.
Linwood, who pays on the first date?
Yeah, I take care of all dates. I got them all.
Nelson, how does it go down?
The man.
Now let me follow up. Is this a social standard? Where does this come from? Anybody can just jump in there, because we're independent women. We independent. We successful. Our money is green just like theirs.
Listen, yes. I can't speak for anybody else, but gender roles, whether we want to believe it or not, are still very defined in our culture. And I'm never going to learn how to change a tire. I'm never going to cut grass. I'm not going to do it. I want my husband, boyfriend to do it while I'm inside making sandwiches and looking at him cut grass with my nails staying cute and, my hair done. I'm sorry. Gender roles are still past it. I'm independent. I make my own money. I still, as a woman, want to be provided for and taken care of in some regard. Now, there was one situation I went out with the man and I knew we were never going to go out again. And I paid for my own tab because I didn't want him to feel like he was slighted or, I told him, you're nice, but yeah, never again. No disrespect. I'll pay for my own food, kind of thing. So
I don't know if we're still there. Larry, I see you itching to jump in there.
Whether we accept them or not.
Larry.
I think that's funny because it's kind of like how you were raised, but you were introduced. So that chivalry thing, sometimes depending on the person you're dealing with, they take offense that you go to open the door for them, or that you want to take out the trash, because there's different roles in a relationship, and you kind of have to communicate. Are you comfortable with me taking on this role? I know you can do it, but it's kind of fall under, in my mind, this is something I should be doing as a man in this relationship, or even on a date. I'm gonna open the door for you. I'm gonna pick up the tab. I'm not.
All right, Linwood, you want to jump in there?
Yvondra, I'm going to say this real quick. I was doing long distance dating, and when I flew to New York the second time to meet her, she picked me up in her personal vehicle. And when I went out to the vehicle, I kind of slyly walked around and I saw that she had 2 bald tires. And so I immediately began to sweat. So I said, can we stop someplace to go get something to eat? I saw Goodyear. I said, where do you buy your tires from? Long story short, we pulled up into Goodyear. It cost $700 to get all 4 tires put on there. And I dropped $700. She stopped the transaction. She pulled me over to the side and she said, I need to talk to you. She said, why are you doing this? I said, Merry Christmas. I'm not riding in no vehicle with no bald tires. She thought that sent a clear signal to her. You going back to his hotel room, you need to stop him. That hurt me a little bit because that's what's expected now.
Yeah.
So even though I dropped 700 large on a friend who we are not seeing each other anymore, she was under the impression that, and this was before we broke it off, that was a trip to my hotel room that I was staying in.
Yeah.
So I think that there's this misconception after 90 days, I'm going to get some, or he should be da-da-da, or if you drop a certain dollar amount, oh, girl, you better pull him off to the side because ain't no man doing that. But
that comes from a place, and that goes still back to, I think, where Nelson was alluding to is healing. And then where Larry says expectations. I mean, and most women probably are not used to someone dropping 700 on the second date. And trust me, there's been an old school saying, I don't know, I'm like you, does this still exist? That there's a side of the menu you shouldn't be ordering from. Okay. All right, I'm gonna leave that one right there. All right, so next one, how does it go down? The woman proposes to you. Should a woman propose?
Where they do that at?
How do you feel about a woman proposing? I'm gonna start with the men. Trevor, we haven't heard from you. How do you feel about a woman proposing? If you guys have been dating long term, let's just say y'all got all the theatrics out the way, the commitment paperwork, and she decides to propose.
I mean, I've only heard of. I have a friend who that happened with, but I don't know. I feel like.
Did he accept?
Huh?
So wait, Amy said, did he accept?
He did, but they're not married anymore.
So is it a problem for you, Trevor? Is it a problem for you if a woman proposes?
Somebody open the door,
please. Yes, I don't think that I don't know. Kind of like Michelle said, like gender roles are still very apparent, and yeah, I mean, it's a problem.
Okay, it's a problem for you. All right, I'm gonna shoot it up to Nelson. Is it a problem for a woman to propose? You guys have been dating long term. You guys have already worked out, healed thyselves, and she proposes.
I mean, I'm all about equality. It doesn't make a difference. I'm more like women that know what they want. Like they're confident, they know what they want. So it doesn't matter in what form that comes. I just like women who know what they want and they're firm in their beliefs and firm with their intentions. So whatever that means, as far as what we agree upon is by all means, claim it.
Claim them. Y'all heard it there. All right, Linwood. Woman proposes. Is there a problem?
I'm so sorry. Call me old-fashioned, but I feel some kind of way. I don't know. I would be flattered, but I would also, that would send up a red flag in me for some reason. I don't know why, but it just would. And even though we worked out all our issues, we're good, we could, and then all of a sudden she dropped down on the knee or she flipped something to me, I turn all kinds of blush. Child, please, I probably
Okay. All right, Larry. What are your thoughts about a woman proposing?
The way you framed it up, you framed it up like we done worked through a bunch of all this stuff and just beat you to the punch. You already on that same communication, that same level. I probably initially be taken aback, like, whoa, okay. Had to readdress the whole thing, but it's good to be in a confident relationship. So if she's confident, bring that to the table. Obviously, we don't work through a lot of this stuff where she felt that was a confident thing. At the end of the day, I would feel like, man, you kind of cheated me out of what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it would take, I would roll with it if the way you framed it up. And then I would probably address it like, You can wait in a week or two. I was in that direction.
Silly. Okay, Amy, is there a problem with the woman proposing?
Well, my initial thought would be I would want to be proposed to, but I do. I don't know. I think that's just a personal feeling, but I guess it would depend on where I was at in that relationship. I mean, I've never felt that way. I've never felt the desire to propose to anyone. I was married very young, but yeah, I mean, I think it certainly, if the relationship was right and the time was right, I don't know, maybe.
All right. So Tyrone says, devil's advocate, you can't have it both ways. Equality means equal. Expecting a man to pay means that you must fall into the historical women's gender role. Many women aren't good with that. Same goes with proposals. Kalia says, no, ma'am, she ain't proposing. Don't even think about it. Okay, she ain't gonna be able to do it. All right, last one. How does it go down? You and an online person are having amazing dialogue, but in person, they do not look like what's expected. Look at Amy's eyebrows hit the top of her head. Do you still go on the date?
Well, I have gone on the date, and it's not just the looks, it's also, something changed in the way they communicated, and then how they communicated face to face. So for me, it's not been about the look. It's been, there are some things off, and there's something off with them. So I mean, I haven't had a situation where I wouldn't just be with someone because of looks, but it's usually a combination of multiple things.
Yeah. Nelson, online person, great dialogue. They show up. I just watched the show Catfish for the first time, y'all. Forgive me. So I want to almost say on the hinges on the line of being catfished, as the term goes. Do you still go on the date? Do you still pursue the relationship?
If the person's a totally different person when they show up?
Well, they just don't. It's them, but maybe the picture is, let's just, for lack of a
20
better,
years younger.
Okay, Michelle, 20 years younger, older, or whichever way it goes.
I think it'd be a case-by-case basis, depending on the vibe. If the vibe's good, then I'll roll with it. If it still feels too awkward, it's kind of like most people lie to themselves already, so it's already red flags. So if they're lying already, there's more lies to come, kind of. So I don't know. That's where you draw that boundary, yeah.
All right, Nelson's going case by case. Larry, how does it go down? Your online boo is not looking right.
I think that's definitely a red flag. I mean, you want to be genuine. If the conversation's not genuine, I just want you to be genuine. If you can't show up and be honest about who you are, and that's a you thing. That's like, well, you're not really being honest with yourself or with anybody else. But if they show up like that, just because I'm gonna try to be the nice guy in that situation, I'm gonna go through the coffee date. I'm gonna get through the coffee date, but I'm not, because if you can't be genuine over social media, where there's not pressure, or maybe there is pressure to present yourself a certain way. I just think that's not acceptable.
Yeah. Okay, Trevor, how does it go down? Your online boo not looking like what was described, or the picture was a little faulty, and they show up. What are you doing?
I'm a nice guy, so I might still go on the date, but me personally, and kind of like Nelson said, it would be case by case, but I do feel that I have to be. It's not all about looks, but I have to be physically attracted to you for me to like it or continue it. But I don't know if I would have, like, if it was on site and I was just surprised. I don't know if I could just be like, oh, I'm out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he has a heart. That's
Right.
sweet. Kelly, that online boo not looking like Denzel.
No, I'm not going. I'm not even gonna play. I'm not doing it. Yeah, because the thing is that I want someone who's confident in themselves, and if they're not presenting themselves in an accurate light in which they are, nah, we can't. Yeah,
Can't move forward. Got
can't
it.
move forward. Yeah, be
Yes.
who you are, and be confident in who you are, whatever
Yes.
that may be. I respond to that.
Absolutely. Linwood, did I get your feedback on that?
I'll be quick. No,
Okay.
I just can't.
Got
I'll
it.
go through the date. I'll finish the date, but after that, it's.
All right. Michelle, you wanted to tap in?
Oh, well,
real quick?
I don't know if I responded, but I think I would be empathetically confrontational on the date. But if I am not attracted, I don't care how much money Bismarck he got. You can't force it. I don't care how nice he is. I don't care about none of that. If there is not attraction, you can't get to the personality. You just can't get to it. I think on the date, I would probably be very, I would confront, but just genuinely like, listen, I appreciate this, but we can't do this anymore because you weren't honest. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Beautiful. I'm going to read these comments and we're going to come to the close. Shonda says, can't start off being deceptive. Mm-hmm. Khadijah also, deception's a red flag. Agreed. If they're dishonest about that, then when else are they going to be dishonest about? And not Bismarcky, like I said. Well, y'all, it has been beautiful. We conclude the second episode of Fit Chat, Chit Chat. I just want to thank all of my panelists for coming on, spending their Saturday morning, maybe afternoon for some folks on the Central and East Coast. I appreciate all your input. I hope everyone took something away. I know I did. Healing yourself, be honest with yourself, live up to whatever expectation you're expecting from someone, set boundaries, love thyself. I mean, we went across the board about being evenly yoked, what singleness means, and all that good stuff. So I appreciate everyone's comments. And I hope that you join me March 27th for the next episode of Fit Chat, Chit Chat, which will be Fit Women. March celebrates International Women's Day. So I thought I would bring a couple of women on who I believe bring growth, resiliency, and strength in their stories. So that is March 27th at 11 a.m. Subscribe to my YouTube page, Finding Inner Transformation, and find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Fit Therapist. I do not own the rights to this beat, but I own the right to say the independent artist, Kiana, my niece, is awesome. So thank you for joining us. Peace, love, and God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm doing just fine. Yes, I'm alright. But it would be nice if someone was here. I'm on my own time, trying to get through the night, find out what's right in my life. I know it's showing that I'm growing, working on myself by myself, and it's really flowing. I get to learn the best parts of who I am now. Yes, it's been a while, but I find it working out. When I look back in my eyes, I see an independent queen working on her own grind. Working on her grind. It's important to love myself before I accept anyone else. I gotta know what it's like when I'm by myself at night.